What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the LA Soccer Hub Show. My name is Gio Garcia. Today's Tuesday, June 15th. It's a special day here in California. Mask mandate is off. We're fully open. I'm excited. Don't got to wear my mask to the gym while I'm running 10, 15 minutes on there. So that's a good sign. But, we're here to talk to soccer. We're going to talk a little bit about Euros. Going to talk about Copa America. So let me introduce my guests. We got Josue Lopez. Josue, how you doing?
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me once again, Andy. Nice to meet you. And looking forward for today's show as always.
Yeah, and we got Parceros. That's how they say it in Colombia.
Yeah.
We got Andy Diaz. He's rocking his Colombia jersey. So he motivated me, and I got my Mexico jersey. How you doing, Andy?
What's going on, fellas? Happy to be here. I told Gio I'm going to only wear soccer jerseys from here on out when I do this show. So I'm going to keep the trend going.
I like that. I only have a few, so we'll see how long I'll be able to do that. But yeah, no, today was a great day for international soccer, right? There was like what the Euros, right? Ronaldo, we saw what Ronaldo did. I caught like the last 10 minutes. He scored. He tied a record or surpassed someone in the record, right? He scored that penalty, and then he scores a second goal. What did you guys think of that game? Did you guys watch the full Portugal versus Hungary game? What?
I watched Ronaldo press conference with he removed the two Coke bottles.
That's true.
So just water for now on. No, I only watched the one between France and Germany, but Ronaldo is always not surprising what he does, but it's always impressive. He's a goal scoring machine. For me, he's more than a soccer player. He's a social phenomenon. Whatever he does inside and outside the field is remarkable. So yeah, that was impressive what he did against Hungary.
Yeah, and you give us your thoughts on like obviously what he did today, and also that Coke thing. That I think it dropped Coca-Cola's stock by like a couple percentages. I saw someone tweet something out, which I thought that was interesting.
You know what I was going to say about that Coke incident? Like, it would have been great for them to counter with like a Messi ad, but Messi's like a Pepsi sponsor, so that's out the window now. It's a bad look for Coke, but all for Ronaldo because I don't drink soda like that, so I'm all for it. But yeah, he's impressive, man. We know what he could do. I always say with international soccer that it's very unfair how we judge these players because we always try to pit their club careers with their international careers. But yeah, it's a record. I think it's 11 goals that has him up there for the most, or whatever the case may be. And we know what he can do in just a quick moment. How he obviously gets the penalty and then he follows it up with that quick move inside and scores that goal. It's Ronaldo at his best when the lights are bright, when the stage is hot. He's going to show up and do something great. So I'm always excited to watch him play, whatever the circumstances are.
Yeah, no, it's amazing, right? Because right, we got one in like in the Euros, we got Ronaldo, another in Copa America, got Messi, right? Messi scored an incredible goal yesterday, even though they ended up tying. But I think the thing that's so impressive about Ronaldo did is just like you see, you're right. He always lives up to the moment. Obviously, we know they won the Euros before, but I also think like we also get to see the power Ronaldo really has, of just literally moving a Coca-Cola to the side and moving out and saying drink water and bringing the stock. We just get to see, the power and the level that it goes. And it's crazy, right? Because how much of the culture, the soccer culture, he really drives, right? And he really moves the needle on a lot of things. And I don't think you're gonna want to. If I'm Coca-Cola, I'm not gonna want to put a Coca-Cola. I'm gonna want to put like a Dasani bottle or a Powerade or whatever, right next to him. And I'm with you. I don't really drink soda. I don't really drink soda. So I just thought that was interesting. I literally just saw that all over social media. But there was another game today. I watched this game from start to finish. It was an amazing game. It was like a world-class game, right? I'm talking about France versus Germany. They were playing in Bayern Munich stadium in Munich, I believe. And we know France is a team, right? France is a team that's been picked to win this, but we also know Germany. Germany is they won the World Cup in 2014, and France just won it in 2018. But going into this game, I was watching. I was like, man, I haven't been exciting for an international game since like last year's World Cup. And Jose, what did you think of this game?
This is why the Euros have the best players in the world. First of all, I tweeted this. It was a strange scenario because normally Germany comes as a favorite in any soccer game. In this case, it was not like that. France was a favorite, and we knew why. I mean, they won 1-0. It could be 3 goals instead of only 1. French players are so fast that they even 2 of their goals were offside. So that's how fast they go. But it was amazing. Like the dynamic that Pavard and Lucas Hernandez had on the wings, the smartness of Pogba with those passes, the presence of Kanté stealing those balls, and then Griezmann playing pretty smart as well, and the return of Benzema and Kylian Mbappe, who will be a Ballon d'Or in the future. That was amazing from the French national team.
Yeah, no, that was impressive, and I think you hit it on there. They may Mbappe may just be too fast for his own good. That's he was caught offside a couple times. Andy, give us your thoughts on this game.
I think it's funny how we were all so excited for this game and it ends up 1-0 on an own goal, which you look at and you're like, oh man, like that must have been a terrible game, and it wasn't. It was a great game. It's just that's how the things turn out. Beautiful. Like Josue said, it was just fun to watch soccer of that caliber with those two teams, the past two World Cup champions. The talent is there on both sides. There's obviously a sense of, sure, this is a tournament and we're trying to open it and see how we're going to do, but it's also like, wait, now we're going to go out and show like who we are. And Germany tried to push, and France probably had some more chances to score where they should have. But even that goal that was called offside I tweeted the same thing. Like this was beautiful, man. Like from the beginning to the end. And I didn't realize on that goal that Benzema's the one that actually starts to play when he passes to Griezmann. Griezmann chips it over, and as soon as that chip goes over, Benzema's like already sprinting downfield. Then Pogba gets a turn, passes it to Mbappe. Mbappe finds like it's just that quality that they play, the speed that they play. It's amazing. That's why they're champions, and that's why they're still the favorites to win this Euro tournament.
Yeah, I think both of the goals that were called offsides, even Mbappe's goal that was a late offsides call. Like, the finish was just incredible because he's just so quick in the speed that he has, and just to finish it past Neuer, right? Like Emmanuel Neuer, like he couldn't even get a glove to it because it was that perfect. It was that perfectly placed, right? And I think when you watching a game like this, it was like a 1-0 game, like you said. I was like, oh man, must have been a boring game, but it was exciting because it was just like, I think you tweeted this out, and it was like heavyweights against heavyweights. Obviously France was the more favored team, coming into this, but like obviously Germany had a couple opportunities, they had, but they couldn't capitalize. And I think it was hard too, because I think when I see world-class soccer like this, you really get to see like at the best level, because it's always on the counter attack, and we see how quick Mbappe is, right? You just give him one or two feet of space, and like you got to see how fast he really was. And then people are like, oh, I think he got a slide tackle. I don't know who was the defender. I think for Germany, slid tackle Mbappe in the box, and they were like, oh, that's a penalty. But you got to see like, right, how fast Mbappe was, but at the same time, you got to see the defender track back and still get the ball. And I think that's what impressed me the most, is just like, bam, it was just like one punch after another, and it ends up 1-0. To your point, it could have been 3-0. Could have been, I know some people said it could have been 4-0 for France, but nevertheless, I think goal differential is going to really help out Germany with this game, because I could definitely see France is probably going to beat up on a couple other teams in their group, probably 3-4-0, just so much talent that they have. And you look at that lineup, right? You said Mbappe, Griezmann, Varane, like all these players are like, there's like no weak spot in this team. And I just like, I don't know. I was just amazed. I like seeing it, and I want to see more of it. Have you guys also kept up with the Copa America or no?
I have to.
Yeah, man, same here. I wish Mexico played in the Copa America. I remember back in the 90s and in 2001, I think Andy will remember this final, the final between Mexico and Colombia in Bogota, where Colombia won 1-0, their only Copa America so far. So, but the level has not been the same, and here is why, in my opinion. I mean, they have World Cup qualifiers and then a summer tournament, and you expect these players to play at their highest level. I don't think so, and it's because there is too many soccer games and too many FIFA dates where players are in occasions too tired, and that's why we haven't seen that exciting level in Copa America. But maybe it's gonna come in the future. But they have been two great goals. That one from Messi, that one from Cardona, that great play against Ecuador, I believe it was. So yeah, those are my thoughts in Copa America. And like I said, I wish Mexico would play in that tournament in the future, and say with Copa Libertadores.
I feel the same way. Anthony, give us your thoughts. How's Colombia doing?
Yeah, I mean, Colombia got out to that win against Ecuador, like Josue mentioned, the beautiful set piece goal. But you're right, the quality is not going to be as expected from typical Copa Americas because of what they're coming off the last two games with the qualifiers, and then given that they had to move it around so much, and it was supposed to be in Colombia and Argentina, now it's in Brazil. honestly, I see this Copa America more as a trial and error for South American teams for the sake of the qualifiers. We know how difficult they are. And at least I'm speaking from the Colombian perspective, but like the way that we were coming into those last 2 qualifiers, we desperately needed points, and they got them. They got 4 points in 2 tough games, but they're still working with a team that they don't know exactly what they have. And it's a new coach. This is only his 3rd game coaching in the first Copa America game. So it's a trial and error. It's going to be trial and error for a lot of teams. I think that's why you see Peru not bring in Raul Ruiz, because they know what he could do with that team. They want to see what else they have, because the focus is going to be, once this tournament's over, whoever does win it, how can we push forward and go towards the goal of qualifying for the World Cup? And in South America, the only team that has a solidified, okay, yeah, we're good, is Brazil. Everybody else is trial and error, trying to figure out what their best 11 is and how to keep going about that. So the quality is going to lack, but it'll get there. The Messi goal was typical Messi. The Cardona goal was better, totally unbiased, but it's going to be fun. It's always fun. Like you're still having some of the top players in the league, in the world, that are going to be on the field against each other. The rivalries are there. There's teams that don't like each other that you're going to know that when they play. And hopefully with the COVID cases and the way things are in South America, which is the most important part, hopefully the staffs and the players can stay as healthy as possible. So that's what I think about tournament so far.
Yeah, and I think the only thing missing for Copa America is obviously the fans, because I think because of the COVID situation, there's no fans allowed, right? And which is unfortunate, right? But when the rest of the world, it seems like obviously it's open. Like I just said, here in LA, just opened up. We see in Europe that wherever where they're at, some have a full packed house, some have like today in Germany, I think it was limited, but you want to see that as well. But quickly, I want to get some people in the chat. JP Marcus, he's a goats at work. Galaxy Guy Podcast, he said, dropping some love, fellas. Josue, Gio, and Annie, the trifecta. And then JP Marcus, he also adds, he said, Rui Diaz is too good for Copa America. He did definitely feel like that when they should have brought him. I don't know why. I don't keep up with the Peruvian, right? The Peruvian coach, I think, I had Nico yesterday talking about that, which I found that very weird, but I don't know how strong the Peru really is. But what I do know about Peru, I went to the 2018 World Cup. It was an amazing experience. I swear to God that the whole country of Peru went, because it was crazy. Like I was staying in Moscow. Like it was literally like I stayed in a couple hotels. I moved around. I stayed in a couple hostels, but everywhere I went in Moscow that first week, it was like everybody was from Peru, because I think it was like, I forgot how many, it was like 40, 60 years. I don't know how many years since Peru had been to the World Cup, that everybody, like I met people like, yeah, man, I'm going to school. But I was like, we don't know the next time we're going to be in the World Cup. So we all just decided to fly here. People sold their houses. It was a crazy thing. But what I do know about the Peruvian people, they definitely support their team. And, it's unfortunate that Raul Ruiz Diaz isn't there. So we'll have to see how that is moving forward. But also I think on another aspect on these things, it's good to see some of these MLS players, right? Andy's go down there and play in the Copa America. I don't know what's the list. I think someone had tweeted out, I forgot, it was like 15, 20 like players of Copa America. But what are your thoughts on a lot more MLS players playing in Copa America?
Yeah, it's just gonna keep helping the growth. I mean, to the Rui Diaz point, what up, JP and Chris? To the Rui Diaz point, like I said, like there's certain players that get judged a certain way when they play international versus on their club team. And Rui Diaz is one of those players, unfortunately. The Peruvian fans obviously are a big fan of what he does when he's playing with the Sounders and when he played in Mexico and whatnot. But like I said, once again, this is a trial and error, mostly especially for a team like Peru, who is at the bottom of the standings, really, for CONMEBOL and qualifiers. So they know. I mean, listen, if it's me personally, I'm bringing him hands down. Whatever. That's beyond the point. It's just that they're trying to see what else they could do, who else they could bring in to kind of see what else they have. Gareca's a good coach, so I trust in him. But for the MLS side, I think it's important, man. The thing about that is like these players need to get this exposure, and I wish there was more. Like there's obviously a lot of players, even just from the LAFC side, that people say, oh, why is Atuesta not on the Colombia list, whatever the case may be. It's so much competition, but I just think that getting an exposure with the national team at whatever juncture, even if you don't play, you're still traveling, you're still getting this training, and you're still getting experience. All that goes a long way. I was listening to, shout out to the Galaxy guys. I was listening to Rajo on the Discord yesterday. He was talking about that, like just being with the U.S. men's national team and just being in camp, but you pick up so many little gems, and you might be able to talk to some players that you may not have any access to or any communication with. So it's big, man. It's good to see that there's players that go from MLS and go to these tournaments, and there's still they're still young or some of them are older and they're just building the name up. For them, it's good. For the league, is good, and obviously for Copa America, it's good to get a mixture of players to kind of change the narrative of like how people in different countries think of MLS. I think it's the most important part of that aspect.
Yeah, Jose, give us your thoughts on the MLS players. Getting more opportunities with Copa America countries.
Adding to the Raul Ruidíaz situation, I'm looking forward of what Santiago Ormeño can do. That's a talent that Mexico left go, surprisingly, but we'll see. That's another topic. That's good for the league. That's good for the league to have this many players, as Andy said. Even if they don't play or not, it will give good for the league image. And yeah, looking forward. I think Venezuela is the one that has the most. Joseph Martinez, Sotelo, and among others. So yeah, it will be interesting how they perform and how long they take them to play again once they come back to South America, given the COVID situation and the quarantine. Like in one side, for example, in California, you have reopening and many other states, but in South America is different. I am curious of what the protocols will be once they return to the United States.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be interesting. I definitely look forward. I think I'm gonna catch in. I'm gonna catch a couple games of the Copa America, but just like the Euros, there's specific games that I'm looking at. I'm like France, Germany. I was like, I'm not missing that game. I'm watching that game. And same thing for Copa America. I'm definitely gonna tune into a couple, Colombia games, a couple Argentina games, because I think Argentina plays Uruguay either this weekend or something like that. So I definitely want to see that game. That's always a good one. But let's talk about here in Los Angeles, right? LAFC. They're gonna play the Houston Dynamo at full capacity on Saturday. It's exciting. Finally, you're gonna be at full capacity. The bank's gonna definitely be rocking. Everybody's there. I know. I think also the press calls. I think they're letting people back at the stadiums, at the training facilities, which is good. We're starting to finally get to that step of, what it used to be, or this new normal, whatever whatever the word may be. But let's talk about that. It's been a tough stretch, right, for LAFC. All right, Andy, and then to this point, right, we know that right before the break they had a very tough loss. A lot of fans were upset, rightfully so, because there's a lot of expectations for this team, and as of yet, they have not lived up to these expectations. But what are your thoughts on them going into this game? Obviously, we don't know what they've done in the training field, but we can only assume that they've worked on those, some of those mistakes that occurred in that game.
Yeah, the two biggest points for me, and I think they're simple, and I think anybody will pretty much say the same, is number one, you have to win this game. There's no question about it. You're going back into a full stadium, which we know how much LAFC benefits from playing at Banc of California Stadium. When it's loud, when there's energy in there, that automatically gives you the upper hand, as if LAFC isn't the better team. Not to say that Houston is a pushover, because it's also a good team down in Texas, but LAFC has to win the game. That's number one. And number two for me is assessing where Carlos Vela's at. We saw him in that New York game be very out of it, in the sense of he wasn't as active and as, I guess, progressive as people would have imagined after seeing him play against Colorado. So this is important to see what his fitness is at. He himself mentioned it after the New York game that he wasn't at 100 and that this break is going to help him a lot. Hopefully it helps him and the team, the chemistry and whatnot. But it's important to see where he is, because once we are able to assess Carlos Vela's health and status, then they can move forward. Because if we come back and see Carlos not be at 100 and not be in it again, then you're talking about, okay, let's start moving things around. Like, this is not going to work as we planned. So, win at any cost, even if it's an ugly win, whatever. The 3 points are most important, number one. And then two is just seeing what Vela is able to do, because that's going to be very telling moving forward for LFC.
Yeah, no, Jose, let's get your thoughts on this, right? Because we know that, like Andy's point, they benefit of having a packed stadium, but there's been some challenges to even through the break to now. I mean, I feel like it's definitely a must win. There's no way you can lose or tie this game. You have to win this game.
It doesn't matter how they win. As far as they win, I think I asked Christian Blackman about that and the other day at the press conference. Like, it doesn't matter the way the team wins, as long as it's a victory, it will be good so far. I'm curious to see what is the response of the players given the Cuban absence and Chiqui Palacios, looking at Tristan Blackman and Farfan as well. But even if they play their best, it will depend on what Vela can do. Looking also on Diego Rossi, who surprisingly was not called for Copa America and is surrounded by rumors. So yeah, those are the types of things that I'm looking forward. Yes, a full stadium will be nice. We need to get back to our normal lives. That will be a factor. But for me, the most important thing is to have Vela 100%. As he said on the press conference the other day, he doesn't feel that he is on his best level. Let's see if this long break will bring him to the level where he wants to be.
Yeah, and I think that everybody's eyes is gonna be on obviously Carlos Vela, obviously because we know what he can do and how big he impacts his game. But I think also before we dive deep a little bit more into Carlos Vela, I think I want to hit on the international players. LAFC has Kim Moon-Wan, Chiqui Palacios, and Mark Anthony Kaye. They're all on international duty. I don't think we're missing anybody. I think let me know if you ever are missing anybody.
Sorry for the mispronunciation of Kim Moon-Wan. My bad.
No, trust me, it's not an easy name, but like, hey, we'll get it to. I'll be sure to tell Kim next time I see him. But anyway, so no, yeah, I mean it's good for Kim Won, right? Because he's been he got to play. He's been playing minutes. I know at times he played 70 minutes, 60 something minutes. Chiqui Palacios, I don't know if he got into playing time. I haven't watched too much of the Copa America. Mark Anthony Kaye, I think he's come off the bench a couple times. He's gone to play. I haven't watched any of the games of any of these guys. I've just kept up in there. But any time players get called up to the national team, it's always a good sign. It's always a good thing, right? No matter even if they're away from the club team, this is what you want. Give me on your thoughts on these three players getting called up and what impact it could potentially have on them coming back.
Yeah, for Kim Moon-Hwan, going in order, I think it's very important for him to just get minutes. And at the expense of sounding like Bob Bradley, we just need him to basically get on the field and go through the motions to kind of see where he's at. Because remember, he was coming into the season with an injury too, and that was kind of the hesitancy that LAFC had over Kim Moon-Hwan, because I think people were expecting him to come in and automatically be a go, and that's not at all what happened with LAFC. So it's important for him to get minutes, whether or not it's around the other side of the world. That's not manageable right now, and I think Bob and company would rather him not be that far, but I think it's important for him to play. Diego Palacios they only played one game, the game against Colombia. He was not on the list. He did not even get called up to the roster, like to the 18. I'm not sure why, but I will say about Ecuador that there's some questions about their left back. I'm not sure his name, but there was a lot of speculation about is he the best option that they have right now? So that could be a possibility for Chiqui to see some time. I know that there was a lot of conversation about that after the Colombia game, but for him, it's the same thing too. I mean, I thought that he's been playing okay. I feel like the perception is that he hasn't been as good as he could be, but I always think that he's a threat when he's out there with LAFC. So same thing with him. Hopefully he does get some time, but if he doesn't, then it could be potentially his job slipping away from him at LAFC. So that one's kind of tricky with him. And then for Mark Anthony Kaye, I think the most important thing for him, and we talked about it a few weeks ago, is confidence. And I think him going to play with Canada gives him a lot of confidence to kind of rebuild what he needs with LAFC in terms of moving the ball and in terms of being a vocal leader. Not that he really lost any of that, but just the moment that he's in right now, it's obviously a tough one for sure. He feels it. The pressure from the fans is there. And I think the most important thing is him is kind of getting a boost of morale being with Canada. So for Mac is the most important for me. That's huge.
Yeah, I mean, you hit on things there, three things there for these players, and I'm with you on that. Jose, give us your thoughts on these three players going on international duty.
As a fun fact, Diego Palacios and Kim Moon-Wan, similar characteristics, good players that can defend and can attack on the front. So yeah, like I said earlier, I'm curious to see if they will be back right away, especially Kim Moon-Wan, who played on the other side of the world. Chiqui Palacios will have a better competition, Copa America, CONMEBOL, all that kind of stuff brings a higher level. I will be curious to see if him playing some minutes in South America will increase his level. And as far as goes for Mark Anthony Kaye, yeah, the confidence level, that single mistake that he made against New York City was everything that everyone focused on. But I mean, he had an assist as well. We can say he had 2 assists on the game against New York, 1 in favor and 1 against. So, so yeah.
I don't think they count that as an assist though.
but I'm curious to see, long periods, time heals, things like that. We'll see how his confidence is in that sense.
Yeah, no, I'm with you guys on that. I think the biggest thing is that Kim Won and Mark Anthony K. Kim Won getting that playing time because he was hyped and he didn't start. He was injured. That was the thing. He was injured since I believe I was talking with Steve Hahn, who covers the Korean national team since November. I want to say I forgot when, but he was way injured even before. So and he hadn't played any minutes. So I think obviously him getting that playing time over there overseas and Chiqui Palacios, I'm with you, Andy. It's because Chiqui Palacios in a situation where Marco Farfan could take his spot, and Marco Farfan didn't get called up for the national team, right? He's training there, and I kind of almost feel the same thing for Mark Anthony Kaye a little bit because there's a lot of pressure from the fans. Rightfully so, they demand thing. And by no means do I think all of LAFC's faults is on Mark Anthony Kaye. No, I don't believe that, but I do believe that his passing has not been as sharp, and I think that it has not been as sharp for 7 weeks, and you can even date it back to CONCACAF. It's been one step forward at times, two steps back. He'll have some great assists, and then sometimes he'll do something which he did. He'll I don't know. His passing just hasn't been sharp. I think that's the biggest struggle for him. So, Jose Cifuentes didn't get called up. Latif Blessing didn't get called up. Pancho Ginella didn't get called up. I mean, there's depth in that midfield that we spoke before. So I think Chiqui Palacios and Mark Anthony Kaye, there's definitely going to be there. The competition is there now. Whether Bob Byerly makes the decision, I mean that's for us to see come later this week, because I think that's going to be the biggest question, because there is a lot of pressure, and they whether Mark starts, whether Chiqui Palacios starts, these guys have to come with a clean slate, have a short memory, and move forward, because I think that's what you want. With this LAFC, but nevertheless, it's always great for them, and I think it's also great for them to get out of LA, get out of your team has been losing, right? Your team has been losing. Let's get out of here. Go to your country, go to your home country, or go wherever you guys are playing games, and then come back and freshen yourself up. So I think it's only going to be a positive for those three guys. Quickly in the chat, G-Man, he has a way with word. He says podcast on Tuesdays is greater than Taco Tuesday all day, every day. Gamer says,
no, man, there's nothing greater than tacos in life.
Well, this podcast to G-Man. Gamer's a big Ecuador fan. He said, Viva Ecuador. And Jose, this is for you. He's like, Jose, where's your soccer jersey? Gio and Andy looking fine there. He's getting ready for Sports Illustrated photo shoot. Nah, I don't know about that. But
next time, I promise. Next time I will. Next time.
Well, Andy came in with the Colombia jersey, and he was looking fine. I was like, you know what? I got my Mexico jersey right here in the drawer. Let me go ahead and bring this out. But yeah, no, I think we're gonna start bringing some jerseys. I got a few. I can probably buy some more. We'll see. But Andy is dedicated. He said he's dedicated himself to a Walker jersey every time he's on the show. So I like that.
Yes, sir. A different one. And if I run out, then we're gonna have problems.
So let's dive deep a little bit more onto Carlos Vela, right? Because I know a lot of fans are, they feel some type of way about Carlos Vela. They they don't feel as confident, I should say, about Carlos Vela, right? It's because of the injuries, and I think that's the biggest thing that we want to see this Saturday. He's fully healthy, and that he's not injury prone is the sense that I'm getting, right? I don't feel that way, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see this Saturday, right? And I think that's the biggest thing, because you want to have a healthy Carlos Vela, because this is a championship team, right? Championship aspirations team. Talk to me a little bit more about Carlos Vela, Andy.
Yeah, see, I think the big problem is the way that he regressed, like I mentioned, from the Colorado game to the New York game. And it's weird because you're like, okay, he played 90 minutes, but the intention there was never for Carlos Vela to play 90 minutes in that game. I think it's just the way that it unfolded, that they needed to keep him on the field to try to push to try to win that game. And it obviously didn't happen the way it went down at the end of the game, but he just was not in it. He was not trying to make certain runs. He was trying to play a little conservative. Bob mentioned it himself. He saw that. And that's the reason why he was able to go 90 minutes. So it's like, at what expense are you saying, okay, he could play 90? Because if I'm Bob, I'm like, I'll still take 60 from him if it's at full effort, and then sub him out. I mean, if you're down by a goal, then of course you're going to try to keep him on the field. But I'll take 60 at 100 over 90 at like 70. That's my take on that. So and then that play at the end, that he just has a shot at net, and everybody's like, oh, like he's not healthy. I'm like, dude, it's Carlos Vela. Just shoot the ball, man. Even if it goes 7 rows into the stands, like just shoot it. And he would have, like I said, probably scored that goal 9 out of 10 times any given day. So I think he's just in his own head, as the whole team is. And I said that after the game, like, the way that the team is playing, the way that these players look, the way that Mark's confidence looks, and Carlos' decision making, perhaps, or lack of intensity, is exactly a reflection of the whole team. It's like they're all playing that same way. You can't really call out too many players that are like, oh, they're shining over everybody. I'll put Atuesta up there, but people are saying that maybe he's not having some great games either. I'm like, well, when you're playing that type of position, like you need everybody else around you to be at 100 as well. So it's kind of hard for him to be like the protagonist if he's playing a defensive mid role or trying to push upfield. So for Carlos, it's like I mentioned, it's just trying to show that he has it. And I don't, like I said, it doesn't need to be for 90 minutes. It just needs to be a Carlos Vela performance. He might not even need to score, but if he could have another assist like he did to Diego Rossi against the Rapids, or if he could have a few runs, a few shots, like any little glimpse that will give fans and anybody that's watching the game a sense of, okay, this guy, he's getting back there is fine. Because I'm not going to say I expect him to be magically healed after, a few weeks off for international break. But the way that he sounded, the way that he looked after that New York City game was very telling. And if they want to have any aspirations to go far this season, it starts with him for sure.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. Jose, give us your thoughts on what you want to see from Carlos Vela.
See, on one corner, I have the Carlos Vela version against Colorado Rapids. He's such a good player that 60 minutes is enough for him to make an impact. On the other corner, I have the Carlos Vela version against New York City, which is not the best. And I like the fact that he is the first one to recognize that. He said, I'm not on the level that I want to be. There is auto-criticism, if that is even a word. It's autocrítica in Spanish. I don't know if that is in English as well. He's critical about himself. So I like that about him. He's the first one to recognize that he's not on his best level. The game against Houston is not against a very tough team. So it's a one where he can show where he is at, where he can recuperate that confidence. Is it a parameter? It's not a game against LA Galaxy. It's not a game against Seattle. It's not a game against Portland. It will not be a parameter to see where Carlos Vela's level is, but it will be a good chance for him to get back that confidence against a team like Houston Dynamo.
Yeah, no, and look, in the schedule, and I think the thing about Carlos Vela is I want him to see, like you said, if it's 60 minutes, but I feel like 3 weeks is close to 3 weeks, I think, since the last time they played. I think depending how serious the injury is, I think that's enough time. I'm not a doctor, I'm not there every day, but I think that's enough time to like process through that, have that bitter taste in your mouth of what you saw. And we expect great things. You're the superstar. You're in LA, right? He deserves to have a bad game or two. He deserves, because he's Carlos Vela and what he's done. He deserves. I'm okay with that. But I think, okay, now I want to see you shine. This Saturday, you're a star. We need to see you shine. And I think we will see Carlos Vela shine. And I think, one way he shines is by dominating the game, by scoring goals, by assisting his teammates, by, making players dance, making defenses look silly. And we haven't seen that, right, because of the injury and, the progression of getting him back. But I think if we see that type of Carlos Vela performance and, Diego Rossi, which we'll talk about next, and, Corey Barrett, we want to see that front three really connect. I think that's going to put a lot more relief on some of the fans. Obviously, by no means, they still got a long road ahead. But I want to look into I want to put up the standings. So right here. So LAFC is currently 9th with 8 points. Right, so they're right there. They're not the top of the table. They're not the bottom anymore, but they're just right above the bottom. And I think that's when you look at the schedule, right? They can move up on the schedule, because they got the Dynamo this Saturday, and then right around Wednesday, right after that they got FC Dallas back at home. And then the next game is they're going to travel to Sporting KC. So in these 3 games, they could potentially pick up 9 points, 0 points, 6 points, you name it. But I think 6 points for sure if you're at home playing those 2 teams. And to give me your thoughts on, obviously it's early, but the table and what type of impact they could have in these next 3 games.
Yeah, it's important to know if they beat Houston, they jump right over them in the standings. So that's big time. That's why I say that win is important, because Houston has 8 points and LAFC has 7, if I'm not mistaken. So
LAFC has 8, Houston has 11. So they can.
Yeah, sorry. So I'm looking at the wrong category. But yeah, they'll be right back up there in the mix. So that win is important for the first game back, and that's at home, like I mentioned, that at the bank. And the other thing is they play a few days after that against that Dallas team, which is coming in on a lower level. So you're kind of expecting to win that game. So if you could get a 6-point swing out of those two, then you have to travel to Kansas City, which has been one of the best teams in the league, Western Conference. It's a tough place to play at. So it's not going to be easy. So that's why these 2 games against the Texas opposition is very important. But that's why I mentioned the same thing with Vela. It's like he's going to be put to the test really fast because these are 3 games in the span of a week. It's what is it, Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. So it's fast. It's not going to slow down. And this is where you're really going to see how fit he is. And this is why I'm saying if you don't need to push him 90 from the beginning, then don't do it, because what's ahead is a lot more important than forcing it in that first game back. But like Josue said, I mean, this is a Houston team that has great players and they have a great coach in Tab Ramos, but this is a team that you're expected to beat. They probably should have beaten them down in Texas when they played that 3rd game of the season. But you're talking about 2 different dynamics. That was Diego Rossi's first game back. Playing a daytime game in Texas, probably one of the worst things in the world when it comes to heat. Not to make an excuse, but LAFC is going to be expected to win that game against Houston. They're going to be expected to win that game against FC Dallas. And like I mentioned, once you get those 6 points, if they do get it, they're in a whole different position now going into the Sporting Kansas City game on the road, which would be, a matchup of 2 supposedly top Western Conference teams. So it could be big, like you said, or it could be panic button right away if they take another loss or 2.
Yeah, no, I think definitely not a loss, but hey, you never know what can happen. Josue, let's talk about Diego Rossi. I mean, last week I believe the Telegraph from the UK reported that the Everton and Tottenham are interested in Diego Rossi. Everybody a lot of people got excited. I know a lot of fans. It's like a bittersweet feeling. Like, yes, you want him to go, but at the same time, you don't. What are your thoughts on Diego Rossi being linked to those clubs in England?
Not surprised, because he's a good player. And since the next soccer calendar will be a World Cup one, I think the best thing for him is to go to Europe, to Everton or Tottenham in this case. I think it's the same for Atuesta, which is not going to happen probably because I think his contract was renewed to 2022. But yeah, it will be good for him for exposure and more possibilities to go for the national team. For LAFC, it will be something not really good because he has 45 goals in these 3 years that he has been on the club. However, I will say this. I think Diego Rossi, even if he stays or he leaves, he's going to make 50 goals. He's going to make that mark. And if in the most possible scenario, it's going to be before July in these 3 games. So let's see.
Hold on. Say that again. Say that. What'd you say?
Yeah, I think Diego Rossi has 45 goals, and I think he will.
45 goals in the history with
LAFC. With
LAFC.
Gotcha. Yeah, and it's gonna be on 15. I don't make enough money to bet, but yeah, I think that's gonna happen.
So if you're a betting man, take Jose's advice. We'll see. We'll see if there's a prop bet. I mean, we're not in Vegas. They're going to legalize sports gambling in California pretty soon. I think within the next year or so. We have a great comment. Before we get to you, Andy, G-Man says, I think LAFC will be fine. The year that Seattle won the MLS Cup, they didn't have the best start, and even fired Shaggy Smith because of it. Okay, G-Man, are you saying the LAFC are going to turn things around? G-Man's a Galaxy fan, but I like
G-Man is an intelligent person. I'm in agreement with that. I think I've said this as many times as I've been on the show this season. It's still a bit of an overreaction. I'm not saying that none of this is justified, because it is 100% justified. The team is not playing well. There are obviously things going wrong, but 7-8 games into a season this long is not. Like I said, we could get to August, September, and forget that this even happened to start the year. So
100%.
I think they'll be okay. The talent is still there, but it, of course, needs to start turning around now. We can't wait any longer. So that's why it's so important to get these results. But I think ultimately they'll be good. Whether or not they'll be good enough to make a championship run, we'll talk about that later down the road in the season.
Yeah, but Andy, listen, I want to get your thoughts on Diego Rossi being linked over there because, right, let's talk about that because if that happens, right, it's going to open up a DP spot, right? But let's get your thoughts on if this is the right time for Diego Rossi to leave.
I think it is. I think under different circumstances, maybe it wouldn't be, but every player wants to say that they won a trophy with the team that they've been with, right? And luckily they did get the Supporters Shield, which they should rightfully so consider a trophy. Maybe others don't, but I mean, when you dominate a season the way they did, I think you could put some weight on them winning that Supporters Shield in 2019. And he would obviously want to leave with an MLS Cup. He got the Golden Boot last year in the shortened season. So I think it's a good time. I think Rossi has been one of those players that has been targeted. He's grown. He shows that he has the qualities to really be a good player on a world stage. I don't buy too much into soccer rumors. I don't know why. I just feel like a lot of times you hear some stuff. But if it is a move to either Tottenham or Everton, those are two pretty good teams in the Premier League. It's not like he's going to a lower tier team. So if that is the destination that he ends up landing at, that's a huge, huge move. And that's also good for LAFC because once again, it continues to show that the way that they're doing this is working, and not in the sense of, oh, here we got these great players and we won. No, in the sense of we got these good players, we could develop them, which is what they were trying to do with Brian Rodriguez, and let them work up to be at a point that, okay, we could let them move on. Once again, you want to have them move on when you're at a peak, not at a low. But you have no control over that when a player like Diego Rossi has proved over the past few years his quality. So if this is the time, if that is the place, I mean, that's nothing but great. I think, like I mentioned, he's shown that he deserves it. Great dude, great teammate from what it seems like, from what we know, the times that we talked to him, he's pretty laid back dude. And yeah, I think it'd be a really good look.
Yeah, no, and just to add on to that, I think I am buying this. I know you said the rumors and stuff, but I'm really buying this. My radar is pretty high on this, and I wouldn't be surprised if it actually happens here within the next week or so, because I think for LAFC, I said this before, this is the time to strike. It's going to prove their model. It's going to prove what they're doing is working, right? It didn't go the way they wanted to with Brian Rodriguez, but now at the same time, they'll have another at bat with Brian Rodriguez because they can go, look, we sold Rossi to Tottenham or Everton. B-Rod, if you just listen to us and you buy 100%, you could be the next player. But you got to kill it first. You got to kill it in MLS first and 100% buy it. So I think it could be a domino effect for Brian Rodriguez. When I'm assuming he's going to come back, I think that's most likely that Brian Rodriguez is going to come back to LAFC after Copa America, because there's no interest for any other player. But I think that's the biggest thing. It's going to show the league is doing a great job. It's going to show Uruguay, which I don't think they're really buying into what LAFC is doing. I don't have any information on that. It's just because Diego Rossi doesn't get the respect he deserves, and I just sense that. He should be. If Brian Rodriguez is getting called up and he did not have a good season with LAFC or Almeria, and Diego Rossi's been killing it, it just shows me that, look, they're not respecting the MLS as much as they should. And if he gets sold on to Everton or Tottenham or wherever he goes, hopefully it's those type of caliber teams is going to show Uruguay, like, yo, you need to be paying a little bit more attention. You need to give us a little bit more respect, right, because of what they're doing, and just to have that connections. But I think it's also going to elevate LAFC a little bit more around the world. It's going to elevate them, right? Because I think it was like 10 million pounds with transfers over to like $14-15 million. I think they bought Rossi for like $1 million. I don't know. I mean, that's a $13 million return on your investment. That's a pretty good investment, but it hasn't happened yet. But I like where this potentially could go for LAFC. I like where this could potentially go for Diego Rossi. It's a win-win situation because this also opens up the door to your boy Andy Eduardo Tuesta. He could be the next guy in line. You know what I'm saying? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, because if this deal gets done, right, I feel like it's going to open up the door for Eduardo Tuesta, because I think that's the next guy to go.
Yeah, we knew that Rossi and Atuesta were really like the two main focus players that are getting attention from the outside coming into the season. I mean, I think Bob Bradley was asked, this is a pivotal year for you guys. You might lose some of your top players, and those are always the two that come and be mentioned. It's automatically a stepping stone for Atuesta to be able to go to a European team and then continue his progress. I mentioned this before as well. I've seen Atuesta play since he was a kid down in Colombia. The way that he's grown in MLS is amazing. And once again, that 2019 year really kind of catapulted this team to get a lot of attention elsewhere. And changing that narrative of what MLS is perceived around the world it's what's important. But Atuesta brought up a good point when he signed his contract extension. He said, sometimes the move is not, what you think it is. And the prime example is Brian Rodriguez. Like, going to Europe is, of course, a goal, but he doesn't want to go to a move that would just kind of just be like, okay, I just came to Europe to come. Like, he wants it to be a significant move. Not saying that he needs to go to Real Madrid or he needs to go to Manchester City, whatever the case may be, but he wants it to be an actual step up. So until that offer does come, until that situation does present itself, he's just going to have to keep proving himself. And I think he obviously is in a position to keep doing that as being, one of the best players on the team. But it automatically opens that door, like you said. You're getting a return on your investment of these young players that you bring from South America who on this stage do not have, I guess, any people that were really like, oh my God, we know who this player is. Like, sure, you might know here and there, like he's good, but nobody, like the way that Atuesta and Rossi were talked about when they first got here compared to now was, night and day. So it's just it's a value to what the model of the franchise is doing, like you mentioned. And I had talked about this as well. I think when I was on last, it's like people are talking about John Thornton. I'm like, their process is working. Whether or not it's winning the championships is another thing, but the process of how they're building this team and maneuvering these players is 100% working. So that's why I think that in that sense that, it's fine with them, and they're going to continue to do it. They're tapped into the South American market really well, and they're looking elsewhere to get other players. So I think it's going to keep being rotational. But of course, that championship and all those wins are going to come back into play when you're trying to sell these players and you're like, okay, what have they done? Like, what have they won? Because people always look at that championship before anything.
Yeah, Jose, let's get your thoughts on here. But I'm with you, Andy. It's showing John Thornton's process is working. But I think once you actually sell a player and that is finalized, then it's like, okay, it's worked. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the next step, and I think they are going to get there with Diego Rossi. But I'm with you on that. I think once they get that sell, once you get that money in hand, it's just going to elevate you a little bit more. Jose, let's get your thoughts on this.
On Atuesta. Well, during Carlos Vela's absence last season and part of this season, he has been the captain and the man who takes the team by his shoulder. So, yeah, like same point with Diego Rossi's situation. If he wants to aspire to any national team status, which he deserves, but he doesn't get because of the league that he plays, he needs to move. Like for the Colombian national team, one of the most surprising calls, maybe Andy can prove me wrong or right, was Jimmy Shara, who plays for Portland. That was a really surprising, because he plays on that league that is so underestimated. So yeah, he has the potential to move to Europe. Hopefully it happens soon, and I hope it happens during this year to have both national team and World Cup aspirations, because in Europe, everyone's eyes are on those leagues.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point, because I think with this, right, let's say Diego Rossi moves on, right? I know a lot. And some of the fan base wants a veteran player, but I don't know. I don't get the sense that LAFC. Let's talk about that. They still Diego Rossi, right? I'm not sure in the mind frame, but I want to get your thoughts first that they're going to go after a veteran player. I think they're going to keep tapping that well that they have it down South America, maybe obviously Africa, but they're getting younger players. They're not the most impactful players are coming from South America, right? Let's say they sell Diego Rossi. What are your thoughts, Andy? Like where they go? Obviously, the number 9 position is the big elephant in the room, right? But are they going to go after a young guy? Are they going to go for a veteran guy? Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, I still think number 9 is where they need to go, and I know other people have different opinions on that, but I think it's still the focal point of them being able to kind of put this all together is having a solid number 9 that plays in that system. And I don't think they necessarily go for anybody that's a veteran, that's solidified. I don't think they need that. I mean, Carlos Vela's there. I think the last time they brought in a veteran, let's just use Kenneth Vermeer as an example. Maybe you come in with a certain mind frame, a certain intention that it's going to be, you're going to be the guy here. This is what you're going to do, and then maybe a season passes and you're playing second fiddle to somebody else, and that goes south really quick too. So I think it's going to be interesting though, because you do also have to realize the chemistry of the team, and that's why I say that, because the way that they are right now, you don't want to bring somebody in that's gonna ruin that. You only want to bring somebody in that's gonna really abide by what they're trying to do. So I think that's why going younger is probably the better way to go. You want somebody that's eager. It's not going to come in with too much of an ego to try to take over or something like that. Somebody that's hungry to prove something more so than somebody that already has proven something. So it's gonna listen, the negotiation and what they do next is gonna be very huge for Dorrington, for Bob Bradley, for everybody in surrounding LAFC. So I don't have any great guesses about what position and who, but it's all eyes on that, because the move definitely needs to be made, and what they do is going to be telling moving forward.
Yeah, no, and it's going to be interesting because, right, I know a lot of fans want a veteran European player. I don't think that's the route that they will go, because of what, some of the conversations I've had, some of the things that I'm seeing and where they're tapped in. So before we get to you, G-Man says, what if Diego Rossi and Eduardo Testa start really feeling the MLS and want to stay like Joseph Martinez? What are your thoughts on that, Josue?
Well, it depends on the offer. It depends on the offer. If the offer is good, maybe he will leave, and I will insist. I know I sound like I'm repeating myself too much on the national team aspirations. I don't think he's gonna get that on Major League Soccer. How come Brian Rodriguez was called for the Uruguayan national team and Diego Rossi was not? And what was the other question? I forgot.
Like pretty much he said, what if Diego Rossi and Eduardo Tuesta really are feeling MLS and would like to stay, like Jose Martinez or Joseph Martinez. Essentially saying he's saying
I don't think. No, I don't. Yeah, well, that will be good for the league, but we'll see if that will help them on their national team status, like I have mentioned multiple times.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that. I don't know. I think Joseph Martinez is a different story, but Carlos Vela has had conversations with Diego Rossi to get him to Europe. I've heard him talk about that publicly. So I think it's not that they don't. I think I mean, Rossi's been, after that winning that Golden Boot, right, in 2019, he's done everything to the league that he could outside of winning MLS Cup. But I think the next step for Diego Rossi and Eduardo Tuesta is definitely Europe, not because they're not happy here. I think it's just the next step into their journey, and I think LAFC definitely wants to help them get there. And and there's no rush with them necessarily. There's no rush for them to go out there. It's going to happen when it happens. But I think right now the Diego Rossi moves make sense, especially during the summer window. For all we know, we can go have this whenever they have this press call Thursday, and bam, Diego Rossi's already on a plane to Europe. We're over here talking about it. It could very likely so happen. Or
would you be shocked by that?
Nah, not at all. Not at all. I would not be shocked by it. No. What I would be shocked is if he didn't go to Tottenham or Everton. He went to like a team that was not as competitive. I say like a lower team, like
Crystal Palace, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Like a different team. But if it's around the same type of team, then I wouldn't be surprised. But I think that's the biggest thing with them. And I think also when you look at that, right? Let's talk about that, because Diego Rossi, say he moves, then that's going to open up, that spot is open up for Brian Rodriguez to come back and essentially come back on the starting lineup if Diego Rossi leaves. You gotta assume that's going to be the thing, right? And let's talk about that. Rossi's gone. Brian Rodriguez, do you automatically put him up in there? I know you have to have the conversation because the dude is a mature. We've seen what he's done, right? Dude is a mature. There has to be a serious talking. And I don't think if you're LAFC, you don't bring him back or you don't put him like he has to be 100% in. He can't be 90% in. He can't be 80% in. Give me your thoughts.
If he does come back, that conversation will already be had. That's my take. There's no way he comes back and they're kind of like second guessing. Okay, like what are we gonna do? Like if he comes back, there's already going to be conversations that were had beforehand to make sure that this is something that he really wants to do and something that LAFC is on board with. And honestly, I play him. I mean, it's a player that he still knows the majority of the teammates there. Not for nothing, Brian Rodriguez is a pretty good soccer player. He still lacks a few, things that you want to see from him, but he gives you a lot as a winger in that attack. He's fast on the ball. He's skillful. And LAFC from the beginning, when they got him, was all about building him up and helping him mature and get better. They could keep doing that. That could benefit them. He could come back and have kind of a resurgence. It wouldn't be super far-fetched to me. But the question is, does he really want to come back? Because if he doesn't, if that's evident, if he's going to continue with the drama, then that's not going to benefit the team at all. But listen, if he comes back, I'm playing him, man, and see what we got. Like, you have nothing to lose for him, because if you let him sit for too long, then it might bring back a little bit of that, okay, here we go with this again. Obviously, I don't think you roll the red carpet off for him. You have to, make sure that he knows you got to fall in line to what's happening here. But it's Bob. But, Bob is prideful. It's not going to be a easy thing to come about. So it's going to be real conversations that need to happen before any of that moves forward any which way.
Yeah, no. So before we get to you, G-Man says, I thought it was impossible for Brian Rodriguez to come back. No, so what actually happened, Almeria did not get promoted, so the purchase clause was not triggered. It was only the purchase clause would only been triggered if they made for the first division. They didn't qualify for that. But let's get your thoughts, Josue. If you're Brian Rodriguez, if you're LAFC, obviously you have to have this conversation. Do you play Brian Rodriguez from the start? Or do you start him?
First of all, it will be the greatest case scenario for Brian Rodriguez, if Diego Rossi leaves and the spot is there, it will be a gift for him. Soccer skills wise, absolutely. When it comes to attitude, I don't think so. But like Andy said correctly, what's gonna be his reaction if he starts from the bench? So yeah, that's my thought. When it comes to soccer quality, absolutely. Like he can take a lot of players. He has maybe a little problem with the final touch. I remember Bob Bradley saying in one of the press conference that he needs to take better decisions on the final touch. So maybe work on that. But yeah, if there is not a good response from players in this time where they don't have their biggest stars, yes. If there is a good response of, let's say, I don't know, Raheem Edwards or someone like that, I will have a second thought.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great points there because to your point, I do feel like this could be the best thing for Brian Rodriguez if he buys in because, and also Bob Bradley and him have to pair up that relationship. I'm still with the notion that they have there's something there, and there's just something there. Whether they don't get along, whatever. Anyway, Bob Bradley likes to, it's my way or the highway, right? He's the type of coach that's that way. He's not the players type of coach necessarily. Not saying that he's not likable or anything like that, but you get a different vibe from Bob Bradley, and it's his way. And if you don't do it his way, then you're probably gonna get chewed out. You know what I'm saying? But that conversation needs to be had. But I think it's also going to open up his eyes once Diego Rossi gets sold, goes to Everton, got Tottenham. Because the connection is there. Like, you want to go to Europe, or you want to go to Almeria, back to Almeria? Like, you got to do it this way. We sent your homeboy, he's going over there. You know what I'm saying? We sent your homeboy over there. So it's like, you want to be the next in line, you got to do what we say. Buy in 100%. If he buys 110%, 90%, anything like that, because they're not going to put up with this talking to the media and doing all this stuff. But at the same time, the thing about this for LAFC is they paid 11.5 for him. They can't just let him walk. And I think that's the tricky thing with him. But we'll have to see, because when's the Copa America end? When's the final, Andy?
Copa America is over like a little after like the 4th of July weekend, or right around there somewhere.
July the 12th, I believe, or July 11th. The final is on a Saturday.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, yep.
So I don't know if Uruguay is going to make it to the final. So I was just trying to figure out. So I think either that first week of July or the second week of July, Brian Rodriguez will probably be in a plane back to Los Angeles, or may get sold or may get loaned out. But I don't think you loan him out again. I don't think you loan him out. Hey, we let you go over there, didn't work out. Time to come back, and let's see how we can fix this, because by then, that's almost a month from now. Diego Rossi might not be on this team anymore, and we may be seeing our last goodbyes, and seeing what happens there. G-Man brings up a great point. He said he can qualify as a U22 player as an initiative. I don't want to get into the technicalities of it because I'm still understanding it, because I think they could use Brian Rodriguez as a U22 initiative player, and it doesn't count as an actual DP. And I don't know how to break that down yet or right now. So the MLS is very tricky. So I don't know if LAFC have that option with him. I'll have to ask LAFC and see what's going on. But nevertheless, it's looking. I'm more on the positive side for Brian Rodriguez if he buys in. I think great things can come with this, because in the beginning he wasn't looking good. But with that said, man, I think that's all the time we have. Is there anything else you guys like to add before I sign us off?
Yeah, I wanted to give my opinion on the number 9, and
let's hear it.
I will have to respectfully defer. I think experienced player will be an option, because LAFC has tried with Diomande, Christian Ramirez, and I think Ureña as well. So it has been a player with a somehow low profile. So maybe bringing a player with a higher profile will have different results in that position. So I will try to jump from a DP spot with a experienced European player.
That's interesting. That is interesting, because I think I'm with you. I think it's like you can also get that in South America. I think that's where they're looking at. I'm not saying that LAFC can't scout in Europe, but I think only one player came from Horta came from Portugal. So there's only one player one DP that they've had there. But I'm more in the feeling that they're going to get a player from South America. and it may be a younger player, but I don't know who it is. I don't know who it is. First things first, it has to be Diego Rossi has to be sold, and then it opens up things for them. But it's going to be interesting because we're going to see how the chess moves that John Thornton does, right? Because and we're going to see how you're able to sell a player and right away, bring in someone that can impact and at the same time still go compete for a championship this year. So it's not an easy thing to do, but hey, when you have money and you sell Diego Rossi, it makes it a little easier. So we'll see what happens. Any final thoughts, Andy?
No, for fans that are going back to Bank California Stadium, enjoy, have a good time. It's going to be great to have people at 100%. And yeah, that's it. I won't be there, unfortunately, but Gio, I don't know. I don't want to put your business out. I don't know where you, because the Galaxy play on Saturday too, right? At home?
I think they do, Andy. I think they do. Well, did you not know? I may be at both. I'll probably be at both. I got great relationships. So we'll see. We'll see what I have to do. I may have to bounce around, but we'll see. I have a packed Saturday, to say the least. It's gonna be exciting.
The busiest man in LA, Gio Garcia. But no, it'll be good. It'll be good for both, for Galaxy and for LAFC to just see fans back. It's gonna be a good time. I'm looking forward. I don't want to say second half of the season because it's not, but I'm looking forward to what's ahead because it's gonna come fast. I've been saying this for a while, but now these Wednesday games start to roll around, and it's gonna really change the dynamic of how the standings move, of how the team's fitnesses are put to test, and we'll have a lot more to talk about here. So I'm excited.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited too. So let the people know, Josue, where they can follow you.
You can see my work in English at Area Sports Network, Twitter and Instagram. Follow me on my social media, both Twitter and Instagram, at JosueLH686. Again, JosueLH686. You will be informed and entertained, I promise.
Andy, let the people know where they can follow you.
Yes, sir. My name on Twitter is Andy_Diosa. So it's just my name, underscore in the middle. Yahoo Sports, my work is there. I'm writing all soccer stuff. I actually have a pretty cool story coming out this week, which kind of doesn't really have anything to do with soccer, but it's just a story that I wrote. So that'll be out. And then this weekend I will be in Austin, Texas for the Austin FC opener. So that's why I won't be at LAFC. And I hopefully have something from down there. So I'm around. I'm here trying to cover as much as possible and always willing to interact with the fans and the readers and all that. So thanks for having me as always, man.
Yeah, no, hey man, enjoy your time out there. G-Man says Gio the Mexico looping going to both at once. G-Man, G-Man, you the king. And then before we sign off, John Adams says Christian Ramirez from Houston Dynamo is heading to Scotland according to Heart of LAFC. Well, props to Christian Ramirez. Hopefully it works out well for him. Guys, if you guys are going to the game on Saturday, definitely enjoy it at full capacity, man. It's been such a long time, since fans were backlit in and to now be at full capacity. So it's exciting, especially because, it's not the second half of the season, but we still got so many games left. So it's going to be exciting. So I'll definitely see you guys there. Definitely hit me up. If you guys want to follow me at Gio Garcia LA on Twitter. And for you guys listening, every Tuesday we talk LAFC and we also talk other things like Euros and Copa America. So if you guys want to join us in the chat, make sure to subscribe on Facebook and Instagram and also YouTube on Tuesdays so you guys can come chat with us. So for Andy and Jose, this is Gio. We'll catch you guys next time. Bye, everybody.